Let's say that I'm out there managing my time well and having lunch with one of my customers, and I run into another one of my customers at the restaurant. Her name's Vivian Grace, and she says, "Hey, I want to talk to you, but I can't do it right now. I'll tell you what, check your calendar for, say, the second week of April and see what you've got available, and then give me a call and we'll schedule something." So when I get back to the office, what I want to do first is check my calendar. Now, I may have a PDA and I may be able to do it right now, but for this illustration, I don't have my PDA with me, and I'm going to go back to the office and check my calendar. So I'm going to go back to the office now. Do I need to look up Vivian Grace's record? No. I mean, I know who Vivian Grace is, and I'm not really adding anything to her record. What I want to know is what's going on with my calendar in the second week of April. So what I'm going to do is go over here to the navigation bar, it used to be called the view bar, and click on calendar. And you notice that it will come up into the week where we are right now, but that's not what I want to look at. What I want to look at is first week of April. So I'm going to go over here to the mini calendar, and I'm going to move it over. I'm going to move the month over to April just by clicking on the arrows at the top of the mini calendar. Now, within the mini calendar then, I can also select that I want to look at the second week of April. Well, the second full week of April starts on the 9th. So I'm going to assume that's what she meant. And I'm going to click at the beginning of that week. And so the Sunday was the 9th, Monday begins the 10th, and so there's my calendar. So now if I call Vivian at this point, which I could do simply by going in and getting her information, then once I call her, I can then schedule the appointment with her. So I get her on the phone, and she says, "Okay, does Tuesday, April 11th work for you then?" And I say, "Yeah, Tuesday, April 11th is fine. All I need to do now is double-click on Tuesday, April 11th." And notice then that it opens up into a much larger view of just Tuesday, April 11th. Now, what time do we want to get together? Well, let's get together at about 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, April 11th. Double-click on the 10 o'clock. Now notice that it's still on Herman because that's where the database was. Well, that's where I can quickly make this change. So click on the database, and then Vivian Grace. Well, Grace is real close to Getter in this case, but it depends on how you want to get there. You can scroll down through it or use your mouse wheel, however you want to get to it, but you can quickly change it. And then it's going to be a meeting. What's the meeting going to be about? Well, it may be one that we already have as far as the regarding is concerned. And maybe it's contract negotiations. And then in that case, would it be high priority? Sure, if it's contract negotiations. And do I want an alarm? Well, if I do want an alarm, chances are I don't want the alarm to go off 0 minutes before our meeting because I would be late. So it depends on your geographical area and how long it takes you to get around to different places or however you manage your time. But that's why we have these things set for alarms for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, a day, 5 days, 30 days. And it depends on how you use it. Typically something in town, I'm going to set it for about 30 minutes. Because even if I'm further away than 30 minutes, at least I can call them then and say, "Hey, I know. We're supposed to get together here in 30 minutes, and I'm on the way." But it depends on how you want to do that. And then click on OK. And so now notice that it's on my calendar. So rather than using the tools in the way that we looked at before when we were scheduling activities to the calendar, in this way we're actually using the calendar to get to the tools and put the information on. Which way is better? Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it really only matters as to how you want to use it to schedule your day to make yourself more productive. But the main thing is, I just wanted you to see that you can use the calendar in either way. Now, if I wanted to bring this up again, I can just simply double-click on the calendar to bring up the whole schedule activity dialog box for this particular activity. And notice that we have a schedule for here. Well, we'll talk about this later on, but what this has to do with is if you have an assistant that is actually scheduling appointments for you. And if you have an assistant that is scheduling appointments for you and you're scheduling your own appointments, then do you want the assistant to be able to see this? So let's, for example, let's say that if I click on Schedule 4, you can see that Chris Huffman and Bill Ferguson are listed. So if Chris Huffman is actually scheduling this for Bill Ferguson, then I could make that indication. But let's say that Chris Huffman is the one who's in charge, and he has this assistant, and he's scheduling this appointment for himself and does not want his assistant to be able to see this on his calendar, then he can mark this as private. So that's what that private box is all about. So as you can see, there's a tremendous amount of flexibility that's built into the system as to how you use it. And the great thing about ACT is that when we put information in, whether it's contact information or whether it's adding an additional activity, you notice I've never had to say, and make sure you click on save before you go out, because it just automatically saves information. One of the things that it automatically saves are notes that we put in, and then it saves history of what we've done. It saves things, it puts things into our activities boxes, it puts things into notes and history, and we can even create history. We'll take a look at viewing notes and history next.